Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tamara V. Lawrence. Okay, I wanted to go back a little bit because I've got so many messages already saying I'd like you to share with us what your journey was being married, being in ministry, and being a mother. And so why did I get married? In all honesty, I didn't plan to be married. And normally when I share this, people go, huh, you've been married 10 years. But my plan was to work for the BBC and to have a cat. And I'd travel the world, I'd cover stories, and I'd come home to my cat and eat chocolate, lie on the sofa with my legs back here, my head hanging over, and while something's playing on the TV, like that, the perfect single life. That was my plan, in all honesty. But in Jamaica, we say that while you plan, I can't remember how it goes. That's so embarrassing. Um, but basically, God had another plan, and I wanted to get into ministry in 2007 when I finished university, but it just did not work out. It was a disaster. And I was like, God, if you don't need me, that's it. I don't need you in terms of that either. I wanted to go work for you and you wouldn't let me. Okay, fine. I'll just carry on with my life. So I started doing that, started studying for my master's, and then England was like, okay, that's it. We have enough foreigners in our country. You need to go to yours. So we're like, okay, fine. You know how long I wanted to go home. So I went home, but just before I went home June. In February, I met this young man at church on his first day at church. And a month later, we bumped into each other again and we started talking, getting to know each other. That's now February 14 actually. And we were getting closer. So by the time I'm to leave in June, he's like, it's not going to happen like that. So I went home in June. In August, Richard proposed, and the next year we were married. Marriage has been interesting. Listen, within my first year, I asked this question so many times, why did I get married? The different culture. I lived in England for almost 8 years. My husband's grandparents are Jamaicans, but we had such a different culture. He also was only a year and something in the church as well. So even me being raised within a firm Christian home, he was not raised in the same. So that culture was different as well. So by the end of our first year or halfway into our second year, we were this close to divorce. It's only because, in all honesty, for me and for him, divorce was not an option. So we started fighting our way through and actually really getting to know each other. And and while we were doing that, that's when ministry got involved, because he then said, you know what, we should go be missionaries. Even though I wanted to do that from a long time, there were two things Richard and I had in common when we started dating. We both wanted to adopt, and we both wanted to be involved in ministry. We both wanted to do ministry. Because he grew up in a church where mission was a big deal. And I had just started learning about mission. And a couple of girls I knew, Danella and Charlotte, they went off to Guyana. They came back with amazing stories. And I was like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. So I've always kind of had it in me. So he said, I think I'm ready. And that's when our ministry started after 2 hard years of marriage. But because my husband and I, we actually were really good friends. We were really good friends. In our time apart, with me in Jamaica, him in England, Listen, the phone company got so much of our money. It was crazy. There wasn't much sleep because of the time difference, 8 hours at some point. But we built a really good friendship. So we were really good friends. So though our marriage was failing, our friendship still was happening, and we were able to fight through the marriage because of our friendship. So when he said, let's go to mission, then the ministry part, full-time ministry anyway, part of my life started. Because as I said, in 2007, I wanted to go and be a missionary. And I told the Lord, I'll give you 5 years of my life. And then after that, I'll go and I'll work for the BBC. Yeah. And because that's what I was trained for. But didn't work out, as I said. But now, 5 years later, here's my husband saying, let's go. And we went into ministry after 5 years. Total opposite. Jesus just kind of flipped it around. And we went off to Guyana and we went to the jungle. We left the 19th, I think, of January 2013. And we got into that was a Saturday evening. And the Tuesday we arrived in our jungle village after sitting on a boat from about 4 o'clock the afternoon before, and we arrived about 8 o'clock that morning. And we came off and we saw these beautiful native people who were so welcoming and so nice, and the kids were singing like angels. And I thought, wow, yeah. But our little room, we had a pet bat, hanging from the ceiling. It would be there all the time. You come off the bed so you can go use the outhouse, and there's a bat bumping into you, and it was quite scary. You could hear the baboons, and they would sound like there were some bears coming in to get you. But we really threw ourselves into ministry, and within a month we were asked to take over the leadership. It was scary. We didn't know what we were doing, but we fought our way through that again. And after the first year, when we were supposed to leave, we realized that we could not leave those children over there in Sapruta. And we continued that fight through for 3.5 years. And it was after 3.5 years we packed up to leave Guyana. It was painful to leave, but I needed to go replenish. We had not gone home in all that time. We still haven't. Okay, so I still haven't gone home, but that's coming soon. But basically, the students, this one girl came with me on the boat, and it was 2 days before we were supposed to fly. And I'm there praying, and I'm like, Lord, are we to go home or are we to stay here? And I'm there praying, and this girl came on the boat beside me, came in her hammock, and on the way out, she said, Miss Tamara, what are you doing? And I said, Alessia, I'm thinking of going home. Our ticket, the date is in a couple of days. And she said, Miss, you can't leave us. She says, honestly, she said, if you leave, I'm coming with you. Anywhere you go, I'm coming. You cannot leave us. And for me, that was my answer. My mother was not well at the time. I had left at the time when we just heard she's 80% blind. And I'm thinking, should we go back and, look after her full time and all that kind of stuff? But hearing this girl say, you can't leave us, all I could think is, I have like 4 sisters back home. They can look after my mommy. But these students, if I leave, they won't have anyone. So I can't. And it confirmed it for me. I did cry. I did cry because I had to get it out somehow, but I knew I was making the right decision. I spoke to Richard and he agreed. And we stayed, in 3.5 years we packed up and we left because I needed to go replenish totally. Because it is hard work living among a group of people so far away. We were 70 miles up the river. There was only one other river 6 miles that way, one other village, and That was the only other one in the Guyana. Yes, that was anywhere close to us. And then there was another one an hour and a half to the right, but that was over on the Suriname side of the river. So we were totally isolated, and it was really, really difficult taking on the things of the village. And we said, okay, we're going to leave and we'll come back at some point. And the Lord provided a leader. But this was when motherhood really started. We packed up, we went to America to transition into Europe. And while there, we got the phone call that Layla's mom died. And Layla at that time was my screensaver on my laptop. She was my screensaver, I think, on my phone, on my tablet, because that girl had a place in my heart all that time. And I had told my brother about her. I told my mom, my dad, everyone about her. So when I heard her mom had died, I knew that that's it for Layla. Not like she really lived with her mom anyway, but at least her mom was in the village. And her mom died, and I spoke with my husband. My parents were in Jamaica, in America at the time, at my brother's, and I spoke with them, and they say, go and get her. And the school needed somebody to start out for them until the leader arrived. So I went and I started the adoption for Layla, and that took a year. And the first few months were the hardest. I told you the first 2 years of my marriage, I was on the brink of divorce. First few months of motherhood, I was at the brink of insanity. I took a 10-year-old girl who was the size of a 4-year-old. I had to produce her birth certificate almost everywhere I went. The size of a 4-year-old with some attitude of a 15-year-old, and it was just so many different ages in that one tiny little body. And she was fiery, and she was just really hard hitting, because of course she's grieving her mom's death. She's grieving leaving her village with the only parents she knew, who were her grandparents. She's now living in the city in an apartment where no, you can't go outside. No, the gate's locked. While this child was used to waking up in the morning and the entire village was her home. She could go down to the creek, and well, they bathe in the river, they wash in the river, and now here is she, and there's a bath pan that she's washing in, that there's a shower coming down on her, so she would scream every time it was shower time, because she wants to go and dive in that river and bathe. So there were so many things that were different. So I was getting it. And I was a single parent because Richard was back in England sorting out things for us to come. So parenthood began really rough. But honestly, because I knew, just like how I knew I chose marriage, yeah, because I was not forced to be married, even though at first I didn't plan to be married. It wasn't on my mind, really. I had not given up on it. I reached a place where I was really happy within, and I didn't mind staying that way. Of course, yeah, okay, Lord, if somebody came, that was it, but I'm cool like this. But because I knew I chose to be married, I fought through. The same way I chose to be a parent, and I was going to fight through. And the same way I chose to be a missionary, and I was going to fight through. And I'm so happy I fought through all three, because I'm almost 40 years old and I'm at the best place in my life ever. And that's the reason I can sit here and I can confidently speak with you. I've been there in so many situations. As I said, 10 years. We celebrated 10 years married. Yes, 8 years in January in ministry, and 4 years this September, Layla moved into my home. Yes, so ask me any question that you want. Share with me. How long have you been married? How long have you been a mom? What was the first couple of years like for you? Comment and tell me what that was for you. I'm sure it was nothing like mine. You all have perfect marriages and perfect children and everything, but comment and tell me what yours was like as we continue our journey, as we talk more about being married, about being involved in ministry, and about being a mother. Thank you for staying with me. Just remember to like, comment, subscribe, share. Let's talk, and we'll have a great time together here at Marriage Ministry Motherhood.